Assalamualaikum everyone, this is Aman Sabir, and today in this video we'll be talking about a very important step of research process which many of people feel difficult to do, and that is problem statement. So our main focus will be refining and defining the problem statement. This video will help you to know what is a problem statement, how it is written, what are the components of a problem statement, what factors are compulsory for making a problem statement good in its quality, and a few examples explaining it. So let us just talk about three important steps of our early research process, which include number one is the identification of broad management problem. Like we have to identify that what is the problem behind it. The second is preliminary research, and the third is definition of the research problem. So moving towards forward, now let us just talk about that what is a problem statement. A problem statement is a concise description of an issue to be addressed or a condition to be improved upon. It identifies the gap between the current problem state and the desired state of process or product. Focusing on the fact, the problem statement should be designed to address the 5 W's. The first condition of solving a problem is understanding the problem, which can be done by way of a problem statement. Problem statements are widely used by business and organizations to execute process improvement projects. A simple and well-defined problem statement will be used by the project team to understand the problem and work towards developing a solution. It will also provide management with specific insight into the problem so that they can make appropriate project improving decisions. So from this we got to know that the main purpose of the problem statement is to identify and explain the problem. So basically a problem statement should be purposive, clearly brief the focus of the project. So basically a person should be clear about its problem, that what is a problem. Only then he or she will be able to write the problem statement, and then he or she will be able to do the research process. If you are not clear about that what is the problem and what problem you are facing, then you are not able to do the research, because when you are not clear in your question, how can you get the right answer of it? Once you are able to write the problem or understand it, now it comes that how to write a problem statement. And for doing that, we first needed to formulate the research topic from the problem statement. We need to transform a broad management problem into a feasible topic for research to be done, and it should be interesting enough that you have to conduct the entire research yourself. For this, the preliminary research helps us to start the process. Now, the question comes in our mind is, what is a preliminary research? Preliminary research should have the researcher to find answers to questions such as what is the problem, why does the problem exist, is the problem important or not, and what are the benefits of solving the problems. Although the exact nature of the information needed for this purpose depend on the types of problem one is addressing, it may be broadly classified under two headings. Now basically we have two components of preliminary research. Number one is the information on the organization and its environment, that is the contextual factor, and number two is the information on the topic of interest. Now let us talk about contextual factor first. From what are the factors from which we can get this information? The information related to contextual factor can be obtained directly from primary data or secondary data such as company reports, archive records, and interview, etc. But we should be focused upon that the data should be of quality. If the data will lack in the quality, it will affect our research. Surveys, interviews, experiments, they are basically a good source of getting the data. And the next component is information on the topic of interest. This information is basically gathered by the help of literature. A careful review of textbooks, journal articles, conference proceedings, and other published and unpublished material will help you to get this data. This gives you the awareness and understanding of current work and viewpoint on the subject area. So now let us just talk about a review on defining the problem statement. A problem statement is an unambiguous, specific, focused, and the problem should be addressed from a specific academic perspective. If the problem is not clearly defined, it is impossible for a researcher to conduct the process of research. Now let's just talk about writing of a problem statement. If we talk about the writing of a problem statement, there are two factors which must be addressed in the problem statement, and it basically identified that how much the problem statement is good. Number one is research objectives, and number two, we have research questions on number two. Should have both of these qualities. Let's just discuss these two components one by one. Our first component is research objective. Now, what are the research objectives? Research objectives are the statement of the research that describes concisely what the research is trying to achieve. They summarize the accomplishment of a researcher wishes to achieve through the project and provide the direction of the study. So the statement of the research objective should be brief, but nonetheless communicate clearly the focus of the project. It should be brief, but the focus of the project should always be clear so that a reader could know properly that on what factors you are conducting the research. So if we talk about the example of a research objective, we can say to study the effect of leadership style on employees' job satisfaction. This is brief, but it is clearly defining the focus of the project. Now let us just talk about one more example. To investigate the relationship between capital structure and profitability of the firm. So both the statements are addressing the complete meaning. Now talking about research questions. The inclusion of one or more research question in the problem statement further clarifies the issue to be resolved. The research questions specify what you want to learn from the topic or what a researcher wants from the topic, why he or she is actually conducting the research. So your research question should be clear enough. Research questions are the translation of the problem of the organization into a specific need for information. Your research questions will tell a reader that on which basis you are conducting the research. Basically, what are the questions of the research for which you are getting the answers. So now let us talk about a few examples of research questions. So number one is, what are the factors that affect the perceived waiting experience of airline passenger, and to what extent do these factors affecting the perception of waiting times? So the question basically starts with the question word and it clearly identifies your problem. So now we further have just an example about business problem translated into problem statement. So basically we were having a problem. So our problem was that the frequent and long delay into the flights and into the quality of the service airline is providing to the messenger can give a negative effect on the passenger, and as a result of that the performance and the profitability of the firm will be decreased, and hence it will be result in the organization negative behavior. So from this problem we have formulated a research objective, that is the purpose of the study is to identify the factor that influence the passenger waiting experiences, and number two is to investigate the possible impact of waiting on customer satisfaction and service evaluation. So basically we have to identify the factors that influence the passenger's waiting experience, and on the other hand we have to investigate the possible impact of waiting on customer satisfaction. Now, from this research objective, what research questions are being formulated? Number one is, what are the factors that affect the perceived waiting experience of airline passengers, and to what extent do these factors affect the perception of waiting time? Number two, what are the effective consequences of waiting, and how does effect mediate the relationship between waiting and service evaluation? Number three, how do situational variables such as filled time influence customer reaction to the waiting experience? So you got to know that how clearly we have explained our problem. First, we are clear that what our problem was. Now from that problem, we have made the research objectives which are focused and cleared, and then from that research objectives we have formulated research questions which are clear in the description and complete, so that a researcher is able to conduct its research properly and it should not affect our research process. Now let us talk about the quality of a problem statement. The quality of a problem statement depends upon three factors. So, three criteria assesses the quality of a problem statement, which include a problem statement should be relevant, it should be meaningful from a managerial perspective as well as from an academic perspective. So, how it can be good from a managerial perspective? It has two factors. If a problem currently exists in the organization and if the manager believes that the problem needs to improve, then it is good for the managerial perspective. Now, how a problem can be good for an academic perspective? If one is not known or nothing is known about a topic, and if much is known about the topic but the knowledge is scattered and not integrated, so just to organize the knowledge, we can make a problem statement that could help us academically. If the research on the topic is available but the results are partly or contradictory, like it is not complete. And number four, established relationship do not hold in certain situation. So we can, after changing the situation, we can just do our research. So these are the two, managerial perspective and academic perspective, from which a problem statement should be relevant enough so that a researcher could do the research. Now, talking about the second quality of the research problem statement, a good problem statement is also feasible. A problem statement is feasible if you are able to answer the research question within the restriction of a research project. These restrictions are possibly related to time and money. So you have to consider these two factors also to make it feasible enough to conduct the research, that I should consider time and money, but also to the availability of respondent, the expertise of the researcher. Now coming about the third quality, a good problem statement is that you are interested in it, because the research process is very rigor, it is very dry, and you have to give the proper attention of yours to this process. So a problem statement should be interested enough so that you can stay motivated throughout the entire research process. So let us just talk briefly about the basic types of research question. We have two basic types of research question. One is exploratory research and the other is descriptive research questions. So exploratory research questions are formulated or developed for exploratory researches. Now, what are the exploratory researches? Such type of researches relies on qualitative approach and data gathering, such as we have case studies, interviews, focus group, etc. Exploratory research questions are typically developed when not much is known about a particular phenomena. Number two, existing research results are unclear or suffer from a serious limitation. Number three, the topic is highly complex. And number four, there is not enough theory available to guide the development of a theoretical framework. So if you do not know much about the topic or the topic is highly complex, it is always recommended to go for exploratory research. Now coming toward the other type of the research questions or research, that is descriptive. Descriptive research questions are just developed or formulated for descriptive research. Now, the idea comes in our mind that what is a descriptive research? The descriptive research is either qualitative or quantitative in nature. It may involve the collection of quantitative data such as satisfaction rating, production figures, sale figures, or demographic data. So these are the two basic main types of research questions. Now, how to develop a strong research question? So there are few factors analyzing this and the quality of a good research question. It should be focused, it should be researchable, it should be feasible, it should be specific, it should be complex, and it should be relevant. So if we are talking about a research process, then how can we forget about the ethics? We have a lot of research ethics. So same here, in this process we have to follow some ethical issues, and they are employees should not be forced to participate in the studies. Like, you cannot force anyone to participate or to fill the questionnaire or to give you interview. You cannot force anyone to do or to be a part of this process. Number 2, attempts to obtain information through deceptive means should be avoided at all cost. Number 3 is it is also necessary to assure employees that their response will be kept confidential. It is one of the main research ethics that the information should remain confidential. You have no right to leak out anyone's information. If the researcher decides to carry out the project, it is necessary to inform all the employees, particularly those who will be interviewed. So let's see in the next step the sample problem statement. Let me just read this clearly for you. The purpose of this study is to investigate the effect of computer-aided instruction on the academic achievement of third form mathematics students. So in first investigate, we got to know what you are going to do. The other fact of computer aided instruction on the academic achievement tell us what is to be researched. It is clearly explaining that on which the research is going to be done. Of third form, who is involved in this research? So basically we are covering what you are going to do, what is to be researched, and who is involved in it. Briefing the whole situation or process, we have this flow chart. Choose your research topic, narrow it down and find your niche, identify research problem, develop clear research questions, because if they won't be developed clearly, you won't be able to perform the research properly. Your research process will be affected from it. Then create a research design to answer them, and you are able to write your research proposal. If you will be going from these steps clearly, only then you are able to write the research proposal. But if you don't know about your research topic, about writing a problem statement, how to define it and how to identify it, you are not able to do your research. So that's all about writing and defining and refining about a problem statement. Thank you.